And today we are going over Mixed Formation Skydiving, multi-gold medal winning team Fliteshop. We have Andy Malchiodi and Jason Peters. Hi, guys.
Yo, what up?
Just a quick introduction of yourselves. Jason, can you just kind of give us a little bit of your skydiving background, like the year you started?
Yep, I just had my 33-year anniversary. I started in June 19th of 91. Moved out here December 18th of 97. Been in this freaking desert since then because obviously I love what I'm doing. Started off in Manifest, moved up to tandem videos, load organizing, shooting video, freestyle video, sky surf video, free fly video. Went into VFS teams for several years with Arsenal and Standard, and worked at the tunnel for over 20 years. And then me and Andy joined up to do some MFS and changed the pace in the industry.
Yeah, you guys certainly did. Andy, tell us a little bit about your background.
This is my 24th year of skydiving, if you don't count the tandem I did in 96. So involved in skydiving since then. Started competing in 2004 in the free fly discipline, and then dabbled a little bit in the VFS discipline. Both those things together sort of brought me to what has become MFS, and I'm sure we'll get into those details. But yeah, I got my instructor ratings in 2008-ish, and whether it's coaching or instructing with some tandems or AFF or event organizing, everyone has to wear a number of hats if you're making a go at professional skydiving. So that's what we do.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you again for taking the time to go over this with us. With nationals coming up, I think there's a lot of people who are just interested in the discipline. They want to know more about it. And then there's also group members from our audience who have been competing in this discipline for a while, and they look up to you as mentors. And so just kind of picking your brains at what makes you guys the unbeatable team. So we're going to jump right in. So for those of you who are new to the discipline, Jason, can you just kind of give us a quick rundown of what is MFS?
It is for me, I feel the most elite discipline in the sport because we're doing, we got formation skydiving, we got vertical formation skydiving, and now we're mixing it all together. We got belly, back, head up, head down, everything in one jump. And it's super technical, super challenging, and super fun, and it's attainable to anybody. And it's really, I think, stepping stones to other disciplines, VFS, because it's really easy to get two people together. And even if you don't have a camera flyer, let's go have some objective skydiving and let's go turn some points and challenge ourselves. And the most challenging spot on the team is the camera flyer, because for us, we're like, oh yeah, man, we're going straight down the tube, and the camera flyer is like, no, you're not, but we're not even thinking about it just because it's so technical. And yeah, super fun, super challenging.
Awesome. Yeah, so two people on a team and you have a videographer, but like you said, you can go out with one other person and just start practicing, start learning together. So it's kind of a good intro into doing some of these formation skydiving type disciplines. Okay, so
add on to that for real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
You want all your skydives to count when you're learning. I mean, anytime, but particularly when you're coming up, when you're learning. An MFS is a means to, have an objective to learn some skills straight away, and you're not, I don't want to say wasting skydives because every skydive is fun, but to really accomplish something on any given jump. So to Jason's point.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like just going on a no plan jump, I think in the beginning of our skydiving careers is kind of fun and exciting, but I think what keeps people in the sport is wanting to progress and wanting to learn, and having that other person there that wants to progress and learn with you is just like, it's so awesome that really all you need is one other person to start working on stuff. So
Yeah,
that's
for
really
sure.
cool.
That's what keeps the fire going, right? Like to see your personal growth. I mean, just to go do funky chickens and leave the plane with no plan, it's, yeah, for sure, super fun. But after a while, it's kind of like, man, what am I getting out of it? You know, I'm putting a lot into it. I'm not really challenging myself and seeing my own personal growth, where you can grab another person and really challenge yourself, each other, and you can work on flying. Hey, I'm going to fly this one slot within this, you know, discipline, and you could have your buddy fly like another slot, and then say your buddy's not there that weekend, but somebody else is. You can keep flying your slot, and they can hop in and start working on their slot, on the other person's slot, and you're just constantly challenge yourself to get better and, you know, excel, versus just hop out of the plane with no plan and, oh yeah, we're gonna leave the plane, no plan, $5 grand, we're gonna break off and save our lives, you know, like. And that's all, it's super fun to do that, but after a while it's kind of like, what am I doing, what am I getting out of it? For us, I think we like to have the goal to, you know, attain something, to, you know, see ourselves excel and getting better and better, and challenge ourselves, you know, with some kind of grading criteria.
Yeah, awesome. I totally agree with all of that. And so now that we kind of have the basics down, two people, one videographer, Andy, can you tell us a little bit more about the history? How did MFS become a competitive skydiving discipline?
Sure. Previously in the free fly discipline, there existed 2A MFS. Those were the two compulsory rounds in the free fly discipline between 2003 or 4, I want to say, up through 2011. And I was competing in the free fly discipline through many of those years, and I found those compulsory rounds to be really the most enjoyable part of it. And so those rules changed in 2012. I was on my way out of the free fly discipline regardless, but that was sort of a tipping point where it's like, okay, well, now I really am done with this discipline. And in the meantime, Jason had also had been running an event series at Skydive Arizona called the Gauntlet, which kind of was the precursor to 2A VFS in around the whole country. And so between the previous free fly dive pool and Jason's dive pool from the Gauntlet, plus by now the IBA dive pool for all the tunnels had come out. I just took it upon myself to aggregate the best of those points, make a dive pool that was suitable for the sky, and presented it to USPA as, hey, I'd like this to be its own discipline. It was so cool within the free fly discipline. I'd like to see it be its own discipline, and it's a formation skydiving discipline. So it was, you know, very translatable to USPA. It made sense. And it, to Jason's earlier point, it can be a stepping stone if that's what you want it to be. If VFS is your goal, for example, you can start with MFS, one other person, get your skills up, take it to VFS. Or if you enjoy MFS due to its own identity, then you can take it to its maximum performance. It's very durable and can serve a number of different purposes in that regard. So USDA was very open to the idea, and I conducted some test events that year, and then it had its own test event at the US Nationals in 2013, which was very well attended and very successful, and that's all they needed to see. And then when we were off to the races, 2014 was the first official year. 2015 is the year Fliteshop started, and we've been at it ever since. We took off 1 year in 2018. Then there was the COVID year, but other than that, you know, it's been every year since 2015.
The nicest thing about it really is, like, we're all a bunch of free flyers. And as Andy said, you know, competing in the free fly discipline before MFS even started, same for myself, sky surf video, freestyle video. It's just so subjective. Whereas MFS is more objective, and it's like, we're free flying. Like BFS, it's free flying as well, but it's just straight up, head down. There's no like eagles, there's no flips, there's no, you know, it's just Where MFS, you're incorporating a lot more free flying aspect of it, which has the objectivity of it versus subjectivity of it. Now, granted, sometimes it is subjectivity with the judges, and I'm banging on judges' windows, the nature of the beast. But it's just nice to be able to go out and do what we do, and instead of being flying on one plane, we're flying on all axes, and it's a more objective. And from a free fly background for all of us, that's a little bit more enticing. Who's the fastest? That's not who's the prettiest. Because of subjectivity.
You could say, you could rightly say, it's a formation skydiving discipline with free fly origins and roots, building it,
Yeah.
If anyone's not familiar with what an eagle means, it's like rotational moves over the top and underneath, which don't exist in any other formation skydiving discipline. So in addition to all four axes, that element really gives MFS its own unique identity when, but again, whatever your goal is, MFS can help serve that goal.
Yeah. And I think that you made an excellent point that like MFS can serve as a stepping stone to VFS or something like that, but it doesn't mean that it's easier or that it's, that like the goal is MFS. It's like, obviously you guys have been doing it for so long and you're both such elite skydivers. Like it is challenging and a fun discipline to do. Without it being like a stepping stone for something else. Like it in and itself is something that you just make yourself get better and better at. So that's really cool.
You could just go down the list and see how MFS can serve you. Like you're a brand new license holder, cool, just do the belly points with a buddy. And you're just going to build formation skydiving discipline and fundamentals from the start. Oh, you can sit fly a little bit? Okay, let's get you the sit fly points. You want to do VFS? Okay, focus on this subset of points. That's going to take you the VFS route. Or you're a really good free flyer, you can take on the whole dive pool, then it's a great way to, have goals. Because as we know and have already alluded to, without goals, skydiving will cease to be exciting and you'll phase out, and you'll cease to skydive anymore, really. So you constantly, even us with, 17, 20,000 plus jumps, without goals, things get boring, things get uninteresting. So we all have to have goals.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, I think that some of the people who maybe haven't done NMFS or they haven't done any competition, when they hear competitive skydiving, they think they're might not ready to pursue this type of thing. We kind of alluded to the fact that they can start pursuing it, but Jason, can you give us just a little bit of like the barrier to entry? Like what would be the most basic skills that someone would need to start trying to fly MFS?
Well, I mean, basically it's like figure out who you're going to jump with and see where you're on the same page with on your skill set so you can have accomplishable skydives, something that's attainable. Like, oh, you just learned, hey, we're going to, like Andy was saying, we're going to go do belly points. Oh man, you've been doing some free flying in the tunnel. You know how to back fly. I know how to back fly. Let's work on belly back, and it's like just a gradual progression that you can challenge yourself, and having a dive pool like that you can have an objective of like, okay, hey man, this is a dive pool that we can start mixing these points up to challenge ourselves, is how that growth starts to happen. And then, eventually as your skill set broadens, then you start broadening your dive, digging into the dive pool per se. Like, okay, hey, we're going to start doing this and that, vertical, head up, head down. It's just it can be a gradual approach to it. But just more have an opportunity to have some objective skydives, and challenge yourself and see where you're messing up. And I mean, me and Andy for several years have done hundreds of training jumps with no camera flyer. Like we can debrief ourselves knowing what's going on. You don't even need that camera flyer for a team aspect of it. You can just be like, okay, if we break it down basics, we know where we're gonna, advancing or we're not advancing. And then as you're feeling more confident, like, I mean, we're killing it, start adding more stuff.
Yeah, cool.
If I could make a broader point about competition, barrier of entry, it's a misnomer for a lot of newer jumpers. And I think I've told USBA, like, I would love to see them make this a point of emphasis in educating newer jumpers, particularly. Like, the first year I went to nationals, I imagined I was going to be in way over my head. I don't belong here. But when I got there, I realized, oh, these guys are plenty of people at my level, even some below my level. Like, oh, this is for everyone. I don't think that's well understood at all by newer jumpers. And, to make sure they know, hey, nationals is for everyone. Now I'm not super up on the intermediate four-way draw, but I think like that's great to have even lower barrier of entry for those that want a goal. Because again, it's all about goals and incentives. And the more people know that nationals is for everyone and it's not just for the most elite, then I think that's a rising tide that will float all boats.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's like, yeah, what we're trying to do is just let people know, please come to nationals. Like, it's fun to be there. You always meet such good people. And like, I particularly love it because in my discipline, I get to share the same plane with the people who are better than me and have been competing a long time. And I get to kind of like pick their brains about, certain stuff that they do or their training techniques, which is going to inherently help me in the long run become better. So. All right.
At the end of the day, it's nice to get something out of your investment because it's not like it's super cheap, like it's spending some money, and like, why not challenge yourself and see how you're personally progressing, with some objectives. You can really gauge that personal growth.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. So just talking about, because I've read the rules. I kind of can picture the dive flow just from watching MFS. But say I wanted to get into it, what would be like a good like first exit to try? Or maybe like if I'm just a belly flyer, what would be like a basic two-way formation that I could to go out with? Andy, can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
All the teams I've coached, I give them maximum 3 different exits. And
Okay.
so you could take any of the points out in one of the 3 exits. And you could actually go even less than that if you were newer and only wanted, you could do 1 exit, honestly. Because what good is launching the point if you then go 10 miles away from each other? You really need to be focused on, not getting too much separation between the exit and the second, third points, etc. So it just depends specifically to your question. I mean, it's just going to depend on the person or people and where their experience is at. But take a normal team, middle of the road team, I would give them a belly exit, a 2-way belly exit, a mixed head up, head down exit, and a double head down exit. And that's it. A more advanced team, you can get into some more subtleties and some more nuance, but everything can be done nicely from one of those 3 exits.
Any beginner team could start off with a belly star exit, and they could go right to a half barrel roll transition to do a mixed formation, or, like I say, if somebody's able to, not even if they're the best head down flyer, but they're not really good at a head up exit because it's super challenging, they could take a head down exit, and then the, strong head up flyer could just now transition in their feet. And then it's starting from there that you can start turning points. Like Andy was saying, it all starts from the exit, right? If the exit kind of blows up, you're playing catch up the whole time, so if you just take something out that's basic and you start your tempo that way, you can, we used to say on Arsenal, we're gonna ramp it up, freight train it, like start from the exit and let the pace build and get faster and faster, because everything starts at the exit, and it's just taking what your strong points are on the exit and work from there.
That is such a good point. I didn't even think about that. I guess my mind was like going into like the rest of the jump. But of course, like if you blow up, like you said, and you spend so much time trying to get back to each other or trying to fix things, like you're kind of wasting time. So Yeah, and I
And
like
to
your comments.
clarify, never are you trying to go fast, ever. Like you
Well, I don't know about that, you know.
but something I said a moment ago, like might lead people to believe like it's important to get back together because you need to get that next point. It's like the speed is a byproduct of the foundational skills that you build. And that just, the speed just comes along for the ride once you've satisfied all the other things. Never is there a time in the training it's like, okay, guys, now's the time we start to go fast. Like that's not a thing. You know, like the speed is just a natural byproduct of all the right things you've done along the way.
What did Eagle Bear's dad say to you after a Paraclete?
Eagle Bear is a team we compete against. They're really cool dudes, and their dad is like their manager, you know, and he was watching our video, and they do well. They do really well. But he was watching our video once. He's like, I let out a sigh of frustration, and I said, what? He's like, you guys, you move so slow, yet you score so many points. And I'm like, I guess I'll take that. That's a compliment, I guess. But you know,
And that's the key, right? It's not about going how fast, because really you can only go as fast as the slowest person on your team. If you're trying to go faster than them, they're playing catch up the whole time, and that put hiccups in the team. But if you're just kind of casual and in sync with each other, it looks slow, but it's really fast because it's clicked in. It's, you know, everybody's in sync with each other, you know, it's and it all starts like you were talking about the exit. You know, if you take out something that's solid, you can start moving fluently together. But if you take out something that's not solid and you're just hanging on for life, and then as soon as you let go, it blows apart, anybody's going to feel like they're playing catch up and they're going to try to go faster. And then it's just not going to be efficient.
Yeah, it's how's the saying go? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
that's correct.
Yeah.
You know, slow, fast, fast. Yeah, no. No, slow is fast. The slow is fast. That is.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on into, you know, maybe someone just is doing this for fun. They just want to get better. They want to have something to do with their friend while they're skydiving, but there is someone who actually wants to pursue going to nationals. Jason, where do they go to find out the rules? How do they figure out what the competition entails?
Okay, so we're gonna get technical here because obviously I don't look at rules. I just go fly slots. Andy can tell you everything about chapter 9 on the skydiving competition manual.
As found on USPA.org.
Yeah, exactly. You know, honestly, I don't really look at that stuff, and he does, which I'm grateful for. That's the balance. We're the yin and the yang, you know. But yes, you can go on chapter 9 on the skydiving competition manual, and you can see all that stuff. And the best thing to do is just like I was talking about earlier. You want to start off, man, look at the discipline. Be like, hey, I want to fly. I'm a strong head down flyer, and work on flying that slot. And even if you got random people you're jumping with because your buddy that you want to train with isn't available, you just keep flying your slot. You're always the head down flyer, and you get somebody new, like, hey, you're going to fly this slot, or vice versa. Somebody's a strong head up flyer, and you're getting somebody different every weekend to jump with because your friend isn't available that weekend. And then you can constantly challenge yourself and get better and better, versus flip-flopping back and forth. I'm going to be head down on this exit, and then I'm going to be head up on this exit. You're not building a foundation that way. Is my thought process on it. We lost you. You're muted.
Oops, I'm muted. Sorry. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like finding like your foundation and sticking with it is super important for progress, because you want to get good at something and build from there. So, and I'm just going to give you guys a shout out, because you're not going to give yourselves a shout out, but you guys run the MFS Cloud League on Facebook, right? And you guys have put up so much helpful information. Like, I think the majority of what I've learned from the discipline has come straight from you guys, because you post your rounds. You kind of talk with the audience about what you're trying, how you engineer certain things. And I think it's a great resource. So check that out, guys. If you're on Facebook, you guys can visit that. It's MFS Cloud League, right?
If you just search Fliteshop MFS, you'll find it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's always an open-ended deal because we're always trying to encourage people to post their videos for free coaching debriefs. That way that we can give them some feedback if we're not at their drop zone, obviously, that we can watch what they're doing and, give them advice on it and try to make it better, and that's our whole goal, is to try to grow the discipline, and get more people involved in it. And it's super challenging, but like I say, at the end of the day, man, we should all want to have some objective skydives, I mean, sure, hey, a couple of jumps a day, let's just go exit, no plan, funky chicken, break off at 5 grand, but want to get more bang for our buck and challenge ourselves as individuals to grow as individuals and, get better. And we want to provide that feedback to help people grow and get better.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Because it's like pulling teeth to get engagement sometimes. And so like we'll post stuff and then be like, anybody out there?
Anybody out there?
Does anyone care? It's nice to know that it's being utilized and yeah.
So, and we try to hold scrambles at Skydive Arizona a few times a year just to get different people involved and intermix with each other, because obviously it's not teams, it's the scrambles. And every jump you're jumping with a different person and challenging yourself to dance with the new partner, and try to give more feedback on that. And, like ways to engineer stuff. Who's the strongest, who's the stronger head up flyer? Who's the stronger head down flyer? This is our viewpoint on the way the exit would go and for you guys to excel. And we're always trying to get people to get involved in, in those scrambles, because that just helps grow the sport more too, or grow the discipline more.
Yeah, you guys are doing
it off this season yet, but we will here shortly. So it's been a little bit dormant here as of late, but our training season is getting underway now, so it'll be active once again.
Yeah. So for those of you who have training videos, sounds like post them up. They'll help you debrief what your jumps are like and how to make them better. So that's awesome that you guys provide that. So. And I'm going to keep saying that until you guys get overwhelmed, and then you can shut me down and say, stop sending people. We don't have time.
We want to see discipline grow. I mean, it's super fun. It's super challenging. But it's kind of like the newest discipline and like the most intriguing discipline for a lot of people. And like I say, at the end of the day, life has gotten expensive. If you're going to go out and skydive, why not have some objective approach that you can challenge yourself? And you don't have to have a team. You can just grab random people. And if you're trying to fly your same slot all the time, you're constantly growing on that slot, even if it's with a different person each time. Me and Andy, we don't really switch exit positions. I'm always a head down flyer. He's always a head up flyer. It doesn't matter, and people can have that same approach even when you're intermixing, as long as you're recognizing who has a stronger point on the exit, so who's a stronger flyer for the head up or the head down, and everybody's growing that way.
Yeah. Okay, so we kind of talked about where to find the rules. So you said Chapter 9, Skydivers Competition Manual. You guys have the Fliteshop Cloud League on Facebook. Anything else I missed? USPA has our YouTube channel of all the previous year, 2022 and 2023 competition rounds, so people can watch those. Am I missing anything?
And if
is there anything you guys know?
If there's like some guys that are, training potentially ahead of time for nationals, there's always the cloud games, what we just did, where you can actually get judged by nationally rated judges and see how you do. It's SDC Cloud Games, which we're super grateful for Skydive Chicago for hosting that and incorporating that. That was like the whole COVID change of nationals. And it's awesome to have that every year as kind of like a middle of the year comp to see how nationals judges see how we're doing. I mean, we just did it And what we scored ourselves wasn't what the nationals judges scored ourselves, or scored us, but it's a good place to kind of see where you're standing in your training year, before you're going to nationals. And everybody should participate in that. And it's super awesome. It's cheap. You do it at home. There's no traveling, register online, and it's like, all right, let's get our jumps in.
Yeah,
We
for
also,
sure.
alongside the website, we try to publish when we'll be training for the season. And if anyone, Eloy can be a warm place in the summer, but if anyone is hip to come join us, we are happy to give out as much free coaching as anyone wants if they would be so inclined to come train alongside us on those training days. So
Yeah.
that's something
That's
we
awesome.
make
That's really
available as well.
And I think I've seen you do that with other teams before. So that's really cool that you guys do that. Okay, so just a little bit more about the competition structure. For those who haven't competed in yet, just kind of give us a snapshot of like how many rounds, altitude, how much time you have to score. Andy, you want to go ahead and...
Yeah, so we tried in the beginning to mimic, I mean, it's formation skydiving rules. That may not mean much to some of the newer jumpers, but like when we were presenting it to USPA, like we wanted it to be so easy to digest. Like, this is a formation skydiving discipline. All the rules apply. So it's a 35-second working time. We do exit from a little higher than four-way does. So we exit at 13.5 AGL in our competition rounds, but we train from 11.5. So you can get your working time from 11.5. If you were at maybe a drop zone with a smaller plane, for example, maybe drop zone doesn't go as high as 13.5, that's fine. Anywhere between 11.5 and 13.5, you'll have plenty of working time. It started as 6 rounds, it went to 8 rounds, and now as of this year, it's 10 rounds. And again, that is in part an effort to mirror both four-way FS and BFS as far as number of rounds, and we're trying to gain parity with the size of the dive pool as well. So we're working towards getting there, and we're well on our way. Was there anything else about the structure? Oh, points. Yeah, so we draw to 4 or 5 points. Again, maybe this is too in the weeds for some of the younger viewers, but
we got some pros and semi-pros in here. So
skydiving discipline, well, not any, but call it four-way FS and four-way BFS. It's a dive pool of formations, and the draw is here's your sequence of formations to perform in sequence as many times as you can.
In 35 seconds.
In 35 seconds. So we only draw to 4 or 5 points. BFS and FS open division draws to 5 or 6 points. So we will get there eventually also, but for now, our open class, or actually all of our classes in MFS draw to 4 or 5 points. I think the intermediate this year may draw to 3 or 4. I'm not certain about that. But advanced and open draw to 4 or 5. So that might be 2 blocks. It might be 4 randoms, might be 3 randoms in a block, however you get
Could
to
be
4
a block, a
or
random
5.
block.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I hope that was that might have been over some people's heads. They can ask.
No, I think you broke it down really well. You said they're intermediate event?
I do believe in Lindsay and Joey and SDC Matrix should be given credit for really pushing, I think, to get this MFS intermediate division some traction. It has happened in the past, but it didn't really get as much support as I think anyone would have liked, and it didn't really last. But we're trying to bring it back, and Nick or Joey and Lindsay have been doing a lot of work on behalf of that. So hopefully that can get some more people involved.
Yeah, and that's without head down, right?
I think that's true.
Not a double head down.
Yeah, no, I think intermediate is no head down. I don't quote us on that. Like, again.
Okay, yeah, I don't know a lot because it is.
Yeah, we're not following that intermediate
yeah.
dipole, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know it's relatively kind of like still being talked about, so we don't
Yeah,
really
they might still be
know.
ironing out the details.
Okay, cool.
And for sure, we want that, right? We want that intermediate division because we want the new people to be like, it's fun to go compete. You know, even if you're like, man, know that you're not gonna maybe go compete against top dogs, but just to have a competition and challenge yourself and be like, okay, hey, we've got to focus on this and we can challenge ourselves to be the best that we can be, not better than they are. You know, like people always ask us, who's your competition? My response is always like, we're our competition. We're always trying to do the best that we can do to make our, you know, get a better end goal on our
Average.
average. You know, like if somebody beats us, man, good for them. But we're competing against ourselves to challenge ourselves to be better than we were last year. Every comp we want to be better, and it all is draw dependent. Some draws can come out super fast, and then your average can be like, man, wow, that's some ripper draw. And then some draws can be like, oh man, we weren't really that good this year. Good. It's just the way the draw came out.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part about it. And you know, it's like, but at the end of the day, we all want to just challenge ourselves to be better and grow and get better and help our friends get better too and pass knowledge on, you know, and give them a direction to be like, hey, yeah, I'm stoked you're out skydiving, but do you have a goal, you know, or you have some objective skydives, or are you just out goofing off, you know? I mean, like I say, it's said earlier, it's fun to go goof off, but man, it's nice to have an objective to challenge yourself and have something to gauge on.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Christy West just mentioned in the chat, and it's something that totally skipped my mind, but Skydive Spaceland has pre-nationals July 20th and 21st. So about a month from now, and MFS is included, and they also have remote judging. So if you're not at one of the Spaceland locations and you want to try, you know, see how you would, you know, pair up for nationals, definitely check out the Skydive Spaceland website because they are doing MFS. So totally space time. What?
Just out of curiosity, when they're doing that, are they going to put a draw out and have nationally rated judges judging it, like it's an actual comp as a pre-nationals?
I think they run it like Skydive Chicago's Cloud Games, like they have the in-person, but they also have the remote, but it's nothing like, it's not USPA official.
Yeah, no, it's just.
So they probably have official.
Yeah, it's the first I've heard about it, so I was just kind of curious if they're having like a, you know, a certain draw date and time. And
yeah, she's writing now. She said, yes, Randy Connell is the chief judge. And then Christy, if you could let us know if their draw is going to be put out sooner than the competition start.
I mean, would it be the night before the competition as normal?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what she says. We'll wait for her response. Oh,
you know, because we're all competitors, right? You know, I want to know. Right?
Okay. She said putting out the draw the night before. So
yeah, perfect.
Okay. Cool. All right. Let's see. Before we take any questions from the future. Let's talk about the future of MFS. So, Andy, when you were talking about how it started and how it came to the USPA as a test event, and now it's an official event at nationals, but it is not an official event for Worlds yet. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on with that?
Sure. So this year there will be a MFS exhibition at the World Meet in North Carolina in October, which is great. Big shout out to Tracy and Rook and Skydive Chicago for helping spearhead that effort. And we'll see what it brings. You know, thus far, there's been a little bit of a, I think, misconception from some of the international judges that MFS is merely a JV VFS. And as such, it has no place on the world stage. I've done my best to dispel them of that. To what degree I was successful, I don't know. But it's a real chicken egg problem because, you know, smaller countries would prefer their athletes not be spending their time on something that they cannot take to the world competition. And that makes sense. And, you know, bigger countries as well. So it's a question of whether, how does it get to the world level? Is it a grassroots, bottom up approach? I think everyone would prefer that. Or is it, you know, from on high, them saying, we're going to do this now, so go ahead and train? It would be better, I think, if it was grassroots. So ideally, the international free fly and VFS teams that are competing at the world meet, I hope they'll all choose to participate. That would be great. And it's open to any US team that is capable of flying the open dive pool. And we'll see what sort of response we get, and we'll put it in front of the international judges to get to have an audience with them and demonstrate its unique identity. And we'll just have to see what that brings us.
Yeah,
Hopefully
totally.
it goes that route, because as here in the US, you know, the MFS is substantially, the discipline is growing larger than the whole artistic discipline combined. And a lot of that is because of the subjectivity, and people have gotten tired of like, oh man, it's a name recognition of like, oh, this team, they've been winning, so they should be better, you know, and it's more objective. And hopefully people start to realize that a little bit, you know, that it's not something, you know, new, or just like Andy was saying, JV, you know, because it's beyond varsity. You know, if you have JV and you got varsity, what's the next step? We're, you know, college ball, you know.
Yeah, I don't think I'm for those of you who might not be familiar with Andy and Jason, the level of flying is kind of out of this world. So I think the fact that you two are choosing MFS as your discipline speaks to the difficulty and to the fact that it is not a JV discipline. Has a lower barrier to entry in some cases, but like you were saying, the points that actually like rotate around each other, and that just no other discipline does that. So
I don't even think it's a lower barrier of entry. I think it's like, man, a lot of people like nowadays with tunnels and all that stuff, man, you can take the dive pool, because when I started the gauntlet, you know, it was like, hey man, we've got a belly back rounds only, and we've got just head up rounds, and then we've got mixed head up, head down rounds. So if you're, you know, you can take the dive pool and break it down in a tunnel and be like, hey man, we're gonna go train the belly back, just the belly back points in the tunnel. And we're going to train just the head up points in the tunnel. We're going to train the mixed points. And you can break it down, and there's those resources are available. The tunnel, because of MFS, the tunnel kind of levels the playing field a little bit, because with artistic, you know, free routines, you can go in there and create a free routine in the tunnel. And if you got a sponsorship in the tunnel, you can go fly all you want, and then you're going to go kill some people. And if you don't have sponsorship in a tunnel to create your free routine, you're kind of left behind, you know, where MFS, it kind of, or FS, you know, you can go train in the tunnel 4-way all you want and simulate everything. But with MFS, if you can think about breaking it down a little bit, and a lot of times when I'm coaching people, man, we're engineering the vertical to the flat. How are we going to go from vertical to flat? We ride the elevator up in the tunnel, we drop the grips, we transition, we come back down, and now we're just working on that aspect of it. How do we go from vertical to flat in sync with each other? You know, and so there's a lot of these resources available to a lot of proficient tunnel flyers that, you know, that skydive, that's like, man, put it together, use the tools that are available to challenge yourself, and you will succeed. Versus just like, oh, we're gonna go skydive and like not use those resources, because they're all available, and it is super technical. You know, it's the most challenging discipline, but it's really not if you use the resources that we're all using anyway. Just enjoying flying, you know,
yeah.
keeping up with people. And whether, like I was saying earlier, whether it's your teammate or it's a random person every week that we're going to go fly in the tunnel 15 minutes, but you're always flying your same slot. I'm always going to be the head down flyer. I'm always going to go from head down to my back, and I'm the head up flyer, and I'm going to go to my belly. And, we just, keep working it and get synced up with each other. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Put the puzzle pieces together and use them and use all the resources.
Yeah, and it sounds like, from what you mentioned earlier, because I know that I've seen people post their tunnel videos on the Fliteshop Facebook page, and you guys have given them feedback. So, they also have that as a resource too. They can go do some stuff in the tunnel together. And, we have cameras in pretty much every tunnel that I know of. They can get that footage, send it to you guys, and get some kind of free couch coaching and feedback. So I think that is another great resource that if I flew MFS, I'd be like, you guys would get sick of me because I'd be like, what do I need to do better?
We came up with these blocks and stuff. Like, what did me and Andy do? Went and flew them in the tunnel and had somebody shooting video from the door to showcase them for people to look at and for people, the community, to agree on, like, hey, we like this, we like that. But it was all tunnel training, it wasn't like in the sky that we needed to do it. And for teams, people should be thinking about that, to utilize that aspect of things. And, it's because it's a great resource.
Yeah.
But it's definitely it's not the same as go free fly and do a free fly routine. You're not tunnel flying. We're vertical flying, and it's elevator up, elevator down. It's different. All tunnels are different. Our tunnel gets slower on the way up. It diffuses, so we can go from vertical to flat on the way up. We could try to transition to vertical, but then we're flaring to slow down. So we really can't keep the same tempo of what we would do in the sky. Other tunnels, it's fast all the way up, and people should be mindful of that. If they're going to do that for training aspect, be aware that on the way up, you should break grip soon and get back to vertical, so you're not slamming into the diffuser or whatever. But it's just being aware of the, utilizing the tools available.
Yeah. Yeah. Just some more feedback from Christy in the chat here. She said that they'd be happy to add intermediate to pre-nationals if there was interest. So, yeah, I think if people went on and started registering or emailing and asking questions, we could definitely make that a thing.
I think that's kind of the problem too, though, is people are like waiting for the interest to add it versus just adding it to create the interest. If
There
it's
you go, Christy.
more people would probably want to do it, but if it's not available, there's no incentive. And like, how many people need to reach out to be like, we want to do intermediate? It's like, just offer it. If there's not enough teams, whatever. I mean, it's an online comp. You got some judges.
She just said, I'll add it tonight, smiley face.
There you go. Yes.
Yay! Okay. So we can spread the news of those of you who are in the MFS community already. Just spread the news that, and I think Cloud Games did have an intermediate dive pool, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So
everything should have the intermediate draw in it. Like, man, USPA, like it's nothing. It's like all we're doing is enticing the growth of the discipline to get people involved, to have fun, to compete. Man, most of us skydivers are type A personalities, like want to skydive, we're trying to challenge ourselves. So why not open the door up automatically just to get people engaged?
Yeah.
Much more, okay, there's only two intermediate teams. It didn't really cost that much to pay the judges to judge those two teams. But if you don't even open the door, then you don't have those teams.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So Lindsay Benner just messaged in the chat. Hi, Lindsay. She said, yes, Cloud Games had 7 intermediate teams, and it was a huge hit. So there we go. It's like you said, grass movement. We're getting, and I think a lot of that is, like you said, Matrix is the team that has been building a lot of that, and you guys as well. So
gotta have a door to walk through. If there's no door to walk through, nobody's gonna walk through it.
Yeah. Okay, someone in the chat mentioned, okay, so Vika asked, why isn't there an MFS rookie level for dummies? So
That is an intermediate rookie level.
intermediate
That's what we're talking about.
Vika is rookie. I think that's kind of the
Anything
answer.
less than that would be in the FS division,
Yeah.
like 2AFS or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you're tunnel flying already and you can go in the tunnel and back fly and belly fly, then you can do the intermediate dive pool. You can start with that just belly back round stuff, just to challenge yourself, and see how you gauge in the sky with a rig on compared to
Yeah.
being in a tunnel without a rig on.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely different.
Yeah. So if anybody else has any other questions, you can write them in the chat. Oh, Mark asked, regarding the proposed changes to the advanced pool, is there anything we can/should do to help push those changes through?
Can you be more specific? Because I think all the changes have been solidified for this year. So not sure what he's referring to.
Yeah, Mark, if you can be more specific, then we can get maybe that answered a little bit better for you. Anybody else? Any questions? So he said, I thought there was a new, simpler advanced pool being proposed.
Yeah. So the talk has been mixing all the rounds for advanced, or allowing a mixed draw for all the rounds in advanced, whereas previously, I believe it was only 3 out of 8 were mixed and the other 5 were vertical. And now with 10 rounds, I think it was 5 and 5 or something like that. But so anyway, that seems to be popular amongst the advanced community. But the challenge is, okay, there's only a couple things that aren't done in advanced that are done in open. So if you're going to mix all the rounds, then is the only difference between advanced and open like 3 points? And if that's the case, advanced is like this far behind open,
Yeah.
So if you want to have equally spaced difficulty, then I think what he's referring to is the suggestion was a number of points should be removed from the advanced dive pool then. Particularly if every round is going to be mixed. To give it separation from what defines open and what defines advanced. If the difference is only 3 points, then that's not much of a difference. So I think that conversation only began here recently, so I would imagine this year it will be what it is, which is that lack of distinction. But I could be wrong. I kind of left that whole part of the debate to others to hash out. So I'm not super confident on the details there. But I suspect that it's already decided for this year, and any changes would be after this year.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, looks like we've kind of wrapped it up with questions from the audience. I do want to tell everybody who came tonight that I'll just put up a link to the Fliteshop Facebook page so you guys can find it easily, as well as the YouTube channel from USPA that has all the competition rounds from 2022 and 2023. And we are going to continue that from now on, as well as Christy dropped some links in the chat about the pre-nationals event. I'll send that out to you guys as well as the recorded version of this video. So any final words from you guys?
Thanks for everybody that watched and chimed in on it. We're super stoked on the discipline we're involved in, and we just want to watch it grow and get bigger and bigger. It's the two-way side of things is super easy. It's attainable for everybody. It's a BFS, it's a lot more challenging to get 5 people on the same page together. MFS, you can grab a couple of people, and just go have fun with your friends and have objective skydives, see more people out there doing it.
Be proactive, don't wait. Go, if you don't have a buddy to go with you, just show up at the drop zone, grab somebody, say, I'm interested in working on this. You want to join me? And you will find people to join you. And you don't have to wait. Be proactive, get out there, train, have fun.
Yeah. Awesome.
We'll thank our sponsors, Skydive Arizona, for
Yes.
helping us pave the way.
Yeah.
Without, we really couldn't do it. And look forward to going to nationals, and we're looking forward to the test event at the World Meet to hopefully open it up to the world level. This super stoked USBA and Skydive Chicago and Paraclete and all those guys that are making this stuff happen, or
yeah, and your third teammate who isn't a part of this webinar but is part of the team.
Oh
Taylor,
yeah,
shout out to him. So
yeah, T-Buck wishes he could be here, but he's out with the girls.
Yep. All right, well, thank you again so much, you guys. Really appreciate it. I hope to see you at nationals. I can't wait. That's it. Have a good night, and thank you everybody in the chat. There's a lot of thank yous going out. So
Thanks, everybody.
all right.
Awesome.
Bye, everybody.